Chapter 1, The Signature. Sign above my name, my twin said, sliding the team form across my notebook. You build, I carry it into the room. We both know which part wins. Celeste Keene had already marked herself as project lead and sole presenter of Beacon Grid. My name sat beneath hers beside the word assistant. The scratched blue light tile under my palm felt warm. Then I remembered dying for that signature. In my first life, I signed because our mother said audiences found Celeste memorable and me difficult. 3 days later, Celeste used her lead access to remove me from the submission. She presented Beacon Grid as her invention, won one of 2 paid Hawthorne Works residencies, and promised she would correct the credit after the photographs. She never did. For months, she called whenever the system failed. I repaired her code at midnight because Mother kept saying, "Do not destroy your sister over a name on a page." At Celeste's spring sponsor demonstration, she bypassed the safe current limit to make the tiles brighter. Half the grid went dark. She blamed an old section of my code, and without current access records, I could prove only that I had once touched it. Hawthorne withdrew my junior engineering offer. Meridian Polytechnic treated me like the resentful twin who sabotaged a star. 2 years later, I collapsed over Celeste's newest broken prototype. My last sight was that same blue test tile blinking alone. Now the wall clock read October 7th again. Celeste tapped the form. The lattice deadline is Friday. Stop making this emotional. I looked at the line she expected me to fill. Then I drew one clean stroke through the page. Celeste's smile stopped. What did you do? Corrected an error. I opened the official Meridian submission portal on my laptop. Beacon Grid was simple to explain even if the work beneath it was not. Each palm-sized emergency tile lit a few feet of corridor. The tiles passed a low-power signal to their neighbors. If smoke, water, or damage killed one, my routing logic sent the signal around it, so a single failure did not black out the path. I had designed the routing logic, current limit, diagnostics, and integration. Marcus Reed, our electronics teammate, had built the charging board from my specifications. Celeste had designed the white display shell, interviewed building managers, and created the pitch deck. All of those contributions mattered. They were not the same contribution. I entered them exactly. Celeste leaned over me, put me down as lead. Technical lead is me. You can be presentation and user research lead. Marcus gets hardware contributor. No judge wants to watch you stare at your shoes. Then they can score me lower for presenting. They cannot score you for code you did not write. Our mother, Evelyn Keene, appeared in the workshop doorway wearing her alumni liaison badge. She did not ask why the form was torn. She looked at Celeste's face and chose a side. Nora, your sister has spent months building relationships for this project. I listed that work. A good idea is useless if nobody carries it into the room, Celeste said. It was her favorite sentence, polished from years of using my silence as a platform. You should be grateful I can. I held up the blue tile. A hairline scratch crossed one corner where it had fallen during my first fault test. Who designed what happens when this tile stops answering? Celeste rolled her eyes. We did. Which file controls the reroute? She looked toward Mother. Mother lowered her voice. Family should not divide itself into percentages. Then why does Celeste get 100% of the authority? Neither answered. I submitted the role declaration, exported the repository history, and emailed the export to my Meridian account. It was not secret evidence. It was ordinary protection against the denial I remembered. Then I changed the repository owner from our old shared team address to the individual student identities required by the new form. Celeste retained read access to the presentation branch. Marcus retained access to his hardware folder. Only I could merge code into the competition build. Celeste watched every click. You planned this. For about 2 minutes. You are punishing me because people listen when I speak. I am preventing you from speaking as me. The words shook after they left my mouth. Celeste heard it and smiled again. She had always mistaken pain for surrender. You will come back before Friday, she said. You cannot demo without me. She lifted the polished white prototype case from the workbench. Mother picked up the torn form and followed her out. For 1 second, panic pulled me toward them. The case held 6 display tiles, the neat foam insert, and the printed logo. It looked like the Invention because Celeste had always understood how surfaces ruled a photograph. Then the blue tile blinked against my palm. The actual controller, master tile, and current limited build were still connected to my laptop. The component drawers held enough parts for an ugly replacement. That difference between appearance and function had followed us since childhood. At 12, Celeste had presented our cardboard flood alarm at a neighborhood fair. I had built the float switch from a medicine bottle and copper wire. She had painted the sign and answered every question before I opened my mouth. When we won a blue ribbon, Mother pinned it on Celeste because she was wearing the clean shirt. I had not objected. Celeste later told everyone I hated presenting, and after enough years, I accepted that as the reason I never got to try. Standing in the workshop, I finally understood the old bargain. My competence made my labor dependable. My silence made it available. Celeste did not need to steal an entire invention in one dramatic act. She only needed me to agree that the visible part counted more, one form at a time. I photographed the workbench before moving anything. I labeled the controller, recorded its current software version, and placed the blue test tile in my backpack. Future memory was not proof, but it told me which ordinary facts would disappear first if I left them loose. My phone buzzed with a message from Marcus Reed, our electronics teammate. "Celeste says you removed her. Tell me this is a misunderstanding." I sent him the submitted role list. "I removed nobody. Check your own credit." 3 dots appeared, vanished, and appeared again. Celeste called from the hallway, loud enough for Mother to hear. "By Friday, everyone will know which twin tried to break the team." In my first life, I had protected the family story until it replaced my name. This time, I set the scratched blue tile beside my keyboard and began building a case no camera would love. I was done being invisible just because invisibility made Celeste shine. Chapter 2: The Empty Shell. On Tuesday morning, my twin sister Celeste Keene placed the polished white case on Dr. Miriam Cole's desk and called it her invention. I arrived carrying my working controller in a gray parts bin. Dr. Miriam Cole, the faculty coordinator for Meridian Polytechnic's Lattice Innovation Showcase, looked from Celeste's perfect display to the wires in my arms. "I have 2 submissions with the same project name," she said. The portal froze both. "Explain the conflict in 1 sentence each." Celeste spoke first. "I created Beacon Grid with family help, and Nora retaliated after I was chosen to present it." "I designed the control system," I said. "Yesterday, I filed the contributors and their roles. Celeste filed a second entry this morning claiming sole ownership." Dr. Miriam Cole turned the monitor so we could see the timestamps. Mine was first. More importantly, mine named all 3 contributors. Celeste folded her arms. "Nora's form does not change who led the project." "A form does not decide authorship," Dr. Miriam Cole said. "It does tell me what each person formally declared before a dispute." She asked us to power both systems. Celeste pressed the silver switch on the display case. 6 tiles glowed in a beautiful line. Then she separated the 3rd tile. Everything after it went dark. My gray bin looked embarrassing beside hers. I connected 4 mismatched tiles, set the scratched blue tile between the 2nd and 3rd, and covered its signal contact with a rubber cap. The first 2 lights blinked. A breath later, the 4th found the controller through a side link and lit. Dr. Miriam Cole pointed to the blue tile. "What changed?" "It stopped reporting neighbors," I said. "The controller marked that route unavailable and used the next shortest verified path." Celeste gave a small laugh. "That is 1 test. The full prototype is in my case." "The full shell is in your case," I said. "Where is the master tile?" Her fingers tightened around the handle. June Park, the fabrication lab monitor, entered with the checkout ledger. She had no reason to rescue me. She cared because missing parts became her problem. "The master controller is checked out to Nora Keene," June Park said. "Celeste Keene checked out 6 display housings yesterday evening." Celeste's face flushed. "We share a home workshop. Nora hid the controller after we built it together." Dr. Miriam Cole raised a hand before the argument could widen. "The Lattice office handles showcase records, not your household. Nora's earlier team submission remains active. Celeste's duplicate soul entry is rejected. Contributors may withdraw from Nora's team or contest a listed role. Nobody may convert the same work into a second entry while attribution is unresolved. It was my first victory, and it did not feel like revenge. It felt like oxygen. Dr. Miriam Cole made the next consequences equally plain. The qualification panel would select 10 finalists from 24 valid entries. The Hawthorne residency came later, after 3 independent judges ranked those 10. Celeste could not inherit a residency by removing me, and I could not earn one merely by proving she had lied. Today decides whether you may submit Beacon Grid, Dr. Miriam Cole said. It does not decide whether Beacon Grid is good. Keep those questions separate. That sentence steadied me. In my first life, Celeste had blurred every question until popularity looked like authorship and authorship looked like guaranteed victory. Outside the office, Celeste caught my sleeve. Give me merge access, and I will withdraw the second entry. It is already rejected. Do you think judges will choose that storage bin? 10 projects reach the final. 2 people get Hawthorne residencies. Removing me does not hand you one. That was true. Beacon Grid still had to qualify, survive judging, and beat 8 other projects if both available residencies were awarded. In my first life, Celeste had acted as if my absence made the residency hers. It had only given her control of our strongest entry. I did not remove you, I said. Present the contribution you made. I made people care. Then make them care without changing who built it. She released me. A good idea belongs to the person who can carry it into the room. You carried in an empty shell. My phone rang before she walked away. Mother had called from her alumni office. You humiliated your sister over a clerical label, Nora Keene said. She filed a duplicate soul entry. Because you frightened her, you know Celeste panics when people take things from her. What did I take? Mother paused. She could name authority, access, or credit, but each honest answer would expose the bargain. Peace, she finally said. Peace for whom? She hung up. The call hurt because some part of me had expected the official timestamp to make Mother see me. Records could correct a process. They could not force a parent to value what the record showed. Marcus Reed, our electronics teammate, was waiting at the lab. He was broad-shouldered, careful with components, and suddenly unable to meet my eyes. Celeste says you locked everyone out, he said. I showed him his access. Your hardware folder is untouched. Your charging board credit is on the form. But I cannot see the integration branch. You never needed it to build the board. If you need a file, ask me. Marcus glanced toward the corridor. Celeste offered to list me as co-founder. Hawthorne recruiters remember titles. They also remember whether a title is true. He flinched. I mistook that flinch for shame. All afternoon, I rebuilt the display with cheap, translucent covers. Theo Grant, another finalist hopeful, stopped beside my bench. His water quality sensor had barely received attention while the twins' argument attracted half the lab. If this turns the showcase into a family television show, the rest of us lose, he said. I agree. Then keep it technical. That is the plan. At 6, I ran the blue tile fault again. The side root lit 0.2 of a second too slowly. I wrote the result in my dated notebook and opened the diagnostics. An alert appeared at the top of the repository. Marcus Reed had requested administrator access. Before I could deny it, another alert replaced the first. Celeste Keene had been added as an administrator by Marcus Reed. My screen refreshed. The folder labeled routing core disappeared. Across the lab, Marcus stared at his phone as if it had acted without him. Celeste had lost the prototype. Now she was reaching through the teammate who wanted a title. And this time, the empty shell had found a key. Chapter 3, The Deleted Name. My name vanished from Beacon Grid's front page at 6:03 on Wednesday evening. Marcus Reed, our electronics teammate, stood 3 benches away with both hands flat on the table. Celeste said administrator access would only let her restore the presentation files, he said. Did she ask you to grant it? She said you had approved it. Did you ask me? His silence answered. I wanted to scream. Instead, I disconnected the working controller from the lab network. Future memory had warned me that Celeste would attack access. It had not told me Marcus would trade my permission for a promised title before the deadline. I opened the repository audit page. Administrator actions could hide a folder from the current view, but they could not erase the service's retained history immediately. I captured the permission grant, Celeste's copy of my unstable Monday branch, and her deletion of my visible role. Then I sent the audit link to Dr. Miriam Cole. I did not save it for a dramatic reveal. Qualification closed in 14 hours. Dr. Miriam Cole met us in the fabrication lab 20 minutes later. My twin sister, Celeste Keene, arrived carrying coffee and concern. I heard there was a security issue, Celeste said. Dr. Miriam Cole showed her the audit. Why did you copy routing core after your duplicate entry was rejected? Because it is our work, Nora was locking me out. Why did you delete Nora's role label? I corrected a false title. By whose authority? Celeste placed the coffee beside Marcus. The team's. Dr. Miriam Cole looked at Marcus. Did the team authorize it? Marcus swallowed. I authorized access. I did not authorize deleting Nora's name. Celeste turned to him and her warmth disappeared. Do not pretend you were confused. You wanted co-founder credit. That was her first mistake. Marcus had betrayed my trust for ambition, but he had not agreed to be disposable. Dr. Miriam Cole locked all role and permission changes. She preserved the repository state and gave us a choice within the showcase rules. Remain one frozen team while attribution was reviewed, or submit technically distinct work only if it could be separated before qualification. Celeste immediately said, one team. I looked at the copied branch on her laptop. It was Monday's build, before I fixed the slow reroute and before I tested the charging board under a partial short. If I stayed, Celeste would keep presenting my work as collective property while every correction became another family negotiation. Independent rebuild, I said. Dr. Miriam Cole warned me that only work completed and documented before the deadline could qualify. She would not extend time because my teammate had misused access. Understood. That choice cost me the polished shell, Marcus's charging board, and a night of sleep. It also left Celeste with the branch she had copied and the contributions legitimately tied to it. I could not call her work mine simply because she had tried to take mine. I rebuilt the charging stage from a simpler public reference design, cited it, and reduced the grid from 12 tiles to 6. June Park, the lab monitor, checked out fresh parts and signed the times. She did not help with design. Theo Grant lent me a crimping tool because, as he put it, he wanted to beat a working project. The smaller build cost me features. I removed the phone dashboard and the decorative pulse that made the lights look alive. Qualification, judges would see exposed fasteners and handwritten labels. What remained was the promise I could defend. One failed tile would not erase the safe direction beyond it. At 2 a.m, I wired the charging stage backward and smelled hot insulation. I cut power before anything burned, replaced the connector, and wrote my own error into the test log. Hiding failures was how Celeste sold certainty. Recording them was how I kept the system honest. At 4 a.m, the scratched blue tile failed. 5 lights rerouted around it. At 9, Beacon Grid qualified as one of 10 finalists. Celeste's copied branch did not qualify as a separate project because it remained part of the disputed original entry. She was still listed for presentation design and user research on the preserved team record, pending review. She had lost sole ownership, not all credit. I thought precise boundaries would finally make the conflict boring. I was wrong. By Monday, Lena Ortiz, a student reporter, had posted a rehearsal clip across campus. In it, I said, "If Celeste touches the controller again, I will cut her out myself." The clip ended before my next sentence. I mean from administrator access, not from her documented contribution. Students who had never opened our repository called me jealous. Some remembered Celeste presenting our early prototypes while I stood silent and assumed visibility meant invention. Celeste filed a formal retaliation complaint with the Lattice office. She claimed I had used technical control to punish her after a private argument and had rebuilt Beacon Grid from shared family work while excluding its public founder. The complaint mattered because Lattice rules required accurate attribution. It did not matter because Meridian wanted to repair our sisterhood. Dr. Miriam Cole did not remove me. She placed the words attribution under review on the finalist page and scheduled a technical preview before final judging. That gray label hurt more than I expected. I had protected the code, met the deadline, and still watched doubt attach itself to my name. At home, Mother was waiting beside 2 packed boxes. Evelyn Keene, our mother, held out my workshop key. "You embarrassed Celeste publicly. Until you correct it, you cannot use this house for the project." The clip was cropped. Then apologize for giving anyone words to crop. Celeste stood behind her in my old team jacket. "Tell them we founded Beacon Grid equally. I will withdraw the complaint." Did we write the routing logic equally? That is not what founder means. Then define it without taking my work. Mother pushed the boxes toward me. "Why must you keep accounts with your own twin?" I looked at the key, then at the hands that had packed my soldering iron, but kept the family-owned laptop stand. "Because every account you refuse to keep ends with my name missing." I surrendered the key and carried my boxes to the campus lab. That night, the finalist page still called my authorship disputed. Celeste posted that she hoped the preview would heal our family and reveal the full story. She had arranged the audience she wanted: judges, finalists, reporters, and a room ready to reward reconciliation. This time, she was not trying to delete my name. She was preparing to place hers beside it forever. Chapter 4: The Twin Story. At Thursday's technical preview, my twin sister Celeste Keene walked on stage carrying the white prototype case and wearing my old team jacket. The preview existed so 10 finalist teams could test equipment, answer reliability questions, and meet the 3 Lattice judges before Friday's scoring. Celeste had turned her allotted contributor response into a reconciliation performance. Beacon Grid was born between 2 sisters, she told the judges and student reporters. One of us found the human problem, one solved the technical details. Fear made Nora forget that neither half can stand alone. My mother, Evelyn Keene, sat in the front row beside Lena Ortiz, the student reporter who had shared the cropped clip. Marcus Reed stood near the equipment table, still hoping his charging board credit would survive. Celeste opened the white case. Her copied branch powered 12 beautiful lights. "Today," she said, "I am offering Nora her place back. Equal founders, no blame." Several people applauded. It was an effective offer because refusing forgiveness always looked crueler than stealing quietly. Priya Nand, the Hawthorne Works engineer on the judging panel, did not clap. "Is this the system entered under Nora Keene's finalist number?" "It is the original shared prototype," Celeste said. Dr. Miriam Cole stepped toward the microphone. "Attribution remains under review. This preview does not change ownership. Celeste may demonstrate only because her documented presentation contribution is part of that review." Celeste smiled as if the warning endorsed her. She asked me to join her. I carried the scratched blue test tile to the stage. Mother's shoulders relaxed. She thought I had surrendered. Celeste whispered, "Stand beside me and this ends." "Run the standard fault test," I said. Her smile tightened. The blue tile had appeared in my notebook, repository issues, and every qualification checklist. Nobody could call it a surprise trap. It simply stopped reporting its neighbors, the kind of damage Beacon Grid claimed to survive. Celeste inserted it between the 4th and 5th lights. The first 4 remained bright. The next 8 went dark. A murmur crossed the room. Celeste pressed reset. The same 8 stayed dark. "The preview network is interfering," she said. Priya Nand asked, "What diagnostic state is the controller showing?" Celeste looked down at the tiny amber flashes. "A low-power warning." "It is reporting a neighbor conflict," I said. Celeste snapped, "Do not undermine me while I am fixing it." "Which file resolves the conflict?" "The adaptive pathway module." There was no module by that name. Lena Ortiz lowered her camera for the first time. I explained the visible failure in plain language. Celeste's copied Monday branch remembered the first path it found. When the blue tile disappeared, the controller kept asking that dead path to answer. My finalist build made every working tile confirm the next step before the lights trusted it. Priya Nand turned to Celeste. Did you write either behavior? Celeste pointed at me. Nora changed the code after locking us out. That does not erase that the idea was ours. The idea of lights helping each other came from a blackout in our apartment, I said. The test method came from my notebook. The routing code came from my commits. Your interviews improved the housing shape. Your pitch made the problem clear. Why is your real work not enough for you? For a moment, she had no room-ready answer. Then she reached for Marcus. Marcus built the system with me. Tell them Nora only integrated our work. Marcus stared at the dead lights. Celeste had promised him co-founder status. Now her story reduced him to a witness she could aim. I built the charging board from Nora's specifications, he said slowly. I gave Celeste administrator access because she promised me a bigger title. Nora never approved it. Celeste copied routing core and told me she would remove my name too if I objected. Mother stood. Marcus, you are protecting yourself. Yes, he said. I should have done it before I touched the permission. His correction did not make him innocent. It made his choice believable. Dr. Miriam Cole projected the scoped Meridian review. The dated notebook and preserved commits attributed routing, diagnostics, and integration to me. Component files attributed the charging board to Marcus. Interview notes and display drafts attributed user research and presentation design to Celeste. The permission audit confirmed the unauthorized copy and deletion. The review did not declare who was the better daughter. It corrected the showcase record. The reactions did not arrive as one obedient wave. June Park nodded only when the checkout line appeared. Access accuracy was the part she owned. Lena Ortiz replayed the full rehearsal clip on her phone, realizing her dramatic edit now made her part of the false story. Theo Grant checked the time because our spectacle had consumed 17 minutes of a preview meant for everyone. Priya Nand studied the dead tiles instead of our faces. Mother looked around for the sympathetic crowd she usually found at alumni dinners. This room had split according to interest, not blood. Some people believed I wrote the code. Some only believed Celeste had overstated her role. Some wanted us off the stage so the next project could plug in. That untidy reaction was more credible than universal applause. Celeste's sole founder complaint was denied. My finalist entry remained valid. Celeste retained only the contributions she had documented, and she could not present Beacon Grid as her independent invention. Theo Grant, the water sensor finalist, spoke from the second row. Can we finish the preview now? 9 other projects came to be tested. His irritation broke the spell better than applause. The room was not our family living room. Celeste could not make every other competitor wait for her story. She grabbed my wrist backstage. Fix the white system before tomorrow, she whispered. If it fails in every video, people will think the whole invention is fake. The demand struck the exact bruise of my first life. I had always repaired her version to protect my idea from her mistakes. The white system is not my finalist build, I said. You would let your own work look broken. I would let your copy show its actual condition. Celeste changed tactics once more. Her anger collapsed into a whisper. If you help tonight, I will tell Mother you deserve the residency. I will even say you wrote most of the code. Most, even while bargaining, she kept a piece of my work in her pocket. The judges do not take instructions from Mother, I said. You know this is not about judges. If you walk away now, there will be no home to come back to. That threat worked because it was true. My campus access covered the lab, not a bed. I had been sleeping on a residence hall friend's floor since Mother took my key. Refusing Celeste meant I might win a project and still lose the place where every childhood memory lived. Mother joined us, pale with anger. Do this one thing, Nora, be the stronger sister. I removed Celeste's fingers from my wrist. You have called me strong whenever you needed my labor to survive your choices. I took the old team jacket from Celeste's shoulders. My name was stitched inside the collar where no camera had ever seen it. Tomorrow, I carry my own build into the room. Then I left with my gray case, while Celeste stood beside 12 beautiful lights that no longer knew where to go. Chapter 5, Carry It into the Room. On Friday morning, 10 finalists rolled 10 different inventions into Meridian Polytechnic's lattice hall. My corrected name did not guarantee me anything. 2 paid Hawthorne Works residencies were available. 3 judges would score technical reliability, documented contribution, the live demonstration, and a 6-month implementation plan. Theo Grant's water sensor had survived field tests I could not match. Annika Bose had built a medication label reader. 7 other projects had earned their places without caring which Keene twin our mother preferred. For the first time, that uncertainty felt clean. My finalist card read Nora Keene, technical lead and inventor. Beneath it, the contribution record named Marcus Reed for the original charging board design and Celeste Keene for early user research and presentation design. Accurate credit did not shrink me. It ended the need to shrink anyone else. Priya Nand, the Hawthorne Works judge, stopped at my table. Show us failure, not success. I inserted the scratched blue tile. The middle light disappeared. The root bent around it, and every tile beyond it stayed bright. Then Priya removed a second tile without warning. For one terrible second, the final light flickered. I did not remember this test from my first life. It had never happened. My second chance had brought me to a future I had not lived. The diagnostics showed 2 possible side paths arguing over the same neighbor. I lowered the refresh rate, cleared the stale confirmation, and let one path establish itself before the other retried. The final light steadied. Why did that work? Priya asked. Because speed is not the first promise, I said. A corridor can wait half a second. It cannot trust a path that only exists in memory. I heard my own sentence and thought of my family. The judges moved on. No crowd erupted. Theo's sensor found contamination in a sample the judges had prepared. Annika's label reader caught a deliberately rotated bottle. The showcase belonged to a field, not a feud. During implementation questions, one judge asked how many buildings I had tested. 1 corridor and 2 lab layouts, I said. Celeste would have turned that into a claim about citywide readiness. I explained that a residency would fund smoke-safe housings and supervised building trials, not immediate sales. Priya wrote longer notes after that answer than after the lights came on. Waiting for results was harder without an enemy to watch. I could not predict Theo's score or Annika's manufacturing plan from my first life. I sat between my ugly case and the scratch tile, knowing truth had only returned my right to compete. Merit still had to carry me the remaining distance. That afternoon, Dr. Miriam Cole announced the 2 residency offers. Theo Grant won the first. When she called my name for the second, my knees weakened so sharply that I gripped the gray case. Theo shook my hand and said, "Now maybe people will remember we built things here." "I remember," I said. Marcus Reed approached after the photographs. Meridian had allowed his narrow hardware credit to remain, but his unauthorized permission grant was noted in the team conduct record. Hawthorne had not selected him. He handed me a small envelope containing the spare charging board diagrams. "I kept telling myself access was not ownership," he said. "Then I used access to bargain for ownership." "I will keep the diagrams with the project record," I said. "I will not work with you again." He nodded. An apology could correct his account. It could not restore my trust. Lena Ortiz, the student reporter, replaced the cropped clip with a correction linking the full rehearsal context. She did not become my friend. She became more careful because her credibility had taken a visible hit. Celeste waited near the stage with Mother and the polished white case. The dead section had been removed, leaving only 4 lights. Even broken, it photographed well. Mother opened her arms as cameras turned toward us. "The Keene twins have always been stronger together," she announced. "This difficult week taught us all about communication. Celeste will help Nora bring Beacon Grid to the public." There it was, the final route. If she could not control the code, the form, the repository, or the judging, she would control what my victory meant. Celeste held out the old team jacket. "We can start over. Equal founders. I will handle Hawthorne. You hate meetings anyway." The offer hurt because her voice softened in exactly the way I had wanted since childhood. For one breath, I imagined Sunday breakfast, our matching mugs, and Mother saying both names with equal pride. Then Celeste added, "Do not make one technical disagreement destroy the family." I took the workshop key from my pocket and placed it on top of the white case. "Which disagreement?" I asked. "The false soul entry, the deleted roll, the copied branch, the cropped clip, or the declaration you signed after all four?" Celeste's hand closed around the jacket. Mother whispered, "Not in front of everyone." "You chose the cameras." Priya Nan stood a few feet away with my residency contract, waiting without intervening. Thea watched with open satisfaction. Dr. Miriam Cole looked tired, not triumphant. Marcus stared at the floor. Their different reactions mattered because none of them needed the same lie anymore. Celeste tried once more. "A good idea belongs to the person who can carry it into the room." I lifted my gray case. "Then carry your own." I signed the Hawthorne residency contract under my name alone. The residency included a modest room near the workshop, but independence was not magically free. I worked evenings to cover food. My relationship with Mother became 3 short emails over 3 months. Celeste lost the right to use Beacon Grid as a sole founder portfolio piece, though her real design credits remained. She entered the next showcase with a presentation project of her own and did not reach the final 10. In January, I moved into my Hawthorne studio. My repository required my approval for every contributor. My contract described my work in language I had reviewed. The white family workbench no longer held my tools. The room was narrow, and the radiator knocked at night. I bought a folding desk from a thrift store and ate noodles for the first week after paying the deposit. Independence looked less cinematic than the residency photographs. It also meant nobody could pack my tools into boxes to change my answer. Mother's third email asked whether I planned to come home for our birthday. I replied that I would meet her in a cafe if Beacon Grid, the residency, and Celeste's career were not discussed. Mother did not answer. The boundary cost me the celebration, but it kept the door mine to open. I placed the scratched blue tile above my desk. Priya found me testing a longer corridor and asked why I kept the ugliest piece on display. "It taught the system not to trust a path just because it worked before," I said. Outside the studio, 20 new tiles passed light around a dark doorway. No single tile carried the whole path. Each one confirmed what it had actually received before passing anything forward. In my first life, I had mistaken being useful for being loved and silence for teamwork. In this life, I still built systems with other people. I credited what they made. I asked them to credit what I made. And when someone carried my work into a room, my name traveled with it.